Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Moletrap here, coming at you with another StarCraft commentary, and this match is gonna be something really special here, ladies and gentlemen, because we have a great, really interesting game to watch here today between two very important players in the history of StarCraft at different times. And you just saw there before Jaedong, who doesn't probably need an introduction, but I'll introduce him a little bit later anyway. But he's going to be playing against Trap. And here you can see Trap is playing for STX Seoul. Trap, if you do not know, has recently won the GSL Super Tournament. He is the current StarCraft 2 champion. And that's really, really cool. But a lot of people don't remember him from his StarCraft 1 days. And so I want to be, you know, I'm the StarCraft history teacher. I want to show you guys a little bit of the old days of this now very accomplished StarCraft 2 player of Trap. You know, people don't often remember everything about what he did. He actually started off in competitive play in 2008. He took some wins in the GOM Classic, was eliminated kind of early. He notably eliminated Idra from the GOM Classic in 2009, but he was just kind of like a middle of the road, maybe bottom of the middle of the road player in, you know, those late Kespa days of StarCraft 1. And then something really interesting happened. I'm going to talk about that in just a second because I want to make sure I introduce Jaedong as well. There he is. He's going to be the purple Zerg player at the bottom right of the map. And he's going to be playing against Trap, who's going to be in the top left as the Protoss player. Played Protoss in StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. And so I got a lot to say. I'm going to try and be succinct about it, but and we're going to try as these players get into their builds here. So this is a really cool match because this is back from 2012 is when this was played. And by the way, apologies for the aspect ratio being kind of weird. There's a black bar at the bottom, but it's just the way that the aspect ratio of this particular video was that didn't quite fit in. So sorry about that. But in any case, yeah, so this is 2012. Jaedong, of course, just recently, in 2020, just recently went into the military, and we'll see if that means a retirement for him or not, because a lot of players have actually gone to the military and come back out and gotten back into StarCraft. But, you know, this is when Jaedong was still, you know, the strongest Zerg, or one of the strongest Zergs in the world in Brood War. And so it's going to be an uphill battle for Trap. But here's the thing. This is also a time when it's really interesting that Trap really came into his own in the Pro League in 2012. And it's a really interesting situation where the match that we're watching right now between STX Seoul and Team 8, which is the team that was kind of composed of a few teams that broke up when things got rocky for StarCraft 1 and 2, including NBC Game and including Oz. Oz was the team that Jaedong was on. So this is a team match, and in 2012 they had a progressive. Oh wow! That was supposed to be Jaedong's expansion drone, and the probe actually 1v1s it and puts down a pylon so the second drone can't finish get a hatchery down either. This is actually going to possibly put Jaedong pretty far behind. He may, in fact, even just put a macro hatchery in his main. Looks like he's going to run that drone over to a third base. He doesn't want to put a second hatchery at a place that's not a base. So he's actually going to run it to a third base. But that is kind of significant that he slowed Jaedong down that much. That his second hatchery is going down like a full 30 or 40 seconds later. And there's Baby, by the way, who is now TY, who's also a super accomplished StarCraft 2 player and StarCraft 2 commentator. He was one of the casters for the GSL that Trap just won. What a weird set of coincidences that Baby, aka TY, is on the bench in this 2012 game watching a player he would later on cast in the finals. Actually, I don't know if TY casted the finals, but he was one of the main casters for the tournament because he played in the tournament too. So anyway, it's crazy times, right? Anyway, so it was a combined StarCraft 1 and 2 Pro League, where they actually alternated between playing StarCraft 1 games and StarCraft 2 games. And so here we have the current world champion GSL champion of StarCraft 2, Trap, playing StarCraft 1 in 2012. When he was a beast, he was actually winning a lot of Pro League games. So I'm really curious to see how this goes. So anyway, that's the kind of the background of this situation, and so it's gonna be fun to see how this goes, and see, you know, also kind of what shape they were in, because that means that these players were also both playing StarCraft 1 and 2. It wasn't like they had, the teams had StarCraft 1 players and StarCraft 2 players as separate benches. All the players were practicing both games. And so both of these players were actually practicing StarCraft 1 and 2, and obviously if you're practicing your builds for StarCraft 1 and 2, they're going to be different. And so it's kind of interesting thing where, like, you know, they might not have as much polish on their build for one game as they do for the other, etc. Now, of course, Jaedong is, you know, the most accomplished Zerg player, maybe not the most accomplished, but the best Zerg player at this point in time. So, much like, you know, Flash plays random in 2020 in StarCraft 1 in the ASL. But when he plays Terran, he's still just really good because he just has so much experience with the race that it doesn't really matter that he's playing other races. So similarly, I expect Jaedong to have a little bit of an advantage here, just because even though they're both practicing both games, you know, Jaedong is such a natural at StarCraft 1 that I think he's still going to have the upper hand here. And he has, by the way, gotten down his third hatchery now, so he has 3 bases. And, you know, we're just seeing normal PvZ play here, where we also have Trap as the Protoss player playing for this Forge expansion build. He's got a couple cannons up behind there as well, and he's just blocking with Zealots. And now that he's got enough Zealots to fill out that entire wall. And that's interesting, because I think that because there's 2 Zealots blocking the north part of that wall, that means he will be able to squeeze Dragoons out of there without killing in buildings or anything later on if he needs to. So, but we'll see what he's up to. He's also getting a Corsair, of course, and a Templar Archives. So Trap's like, let's bust out some Bisu build here. The old early Templar Archives with the Corsairs overhead. I mean, Sarah DT is not something that Bisu invented, obviously, but this is very reminiscent of Bisu's, you know, 2008 play with the Sarah DT early, and you know. Anyway, so we'll see how this goes. Trap getting that Corsair out on the map is actually going towards the 3rd base first. That's interesting. I almost would have expected him to go for the, main, because part of the reason for that Corsair is to scout. In fact, maybe even the primary reason for that Corsair is to scout. Oh, this Overlord's coming in here to see what's going on, and he does not see the DT. The DT sneaks up above the vision of that Overlord. I'm pretty sure, because we don't see him reacting or anything like that. He does have Scourge out on the map, by the way, so the Spire is complete. And that's what I was thinking, is like, the Corsair usually wants to scout and see, do they have Spire tech, do they have Hydralisk tech, do they have both? And so he's going for that 3rd. It's kind of interesting. But we know now why, is because he wanted that Corsair to push away an Overlord in order to try and make it so the DT could get there, because that was the fastest course for the DT. And oh, he's actually going in with the DT before he kills the Overlord. The Lings get the 2nd Dark Templar. The 1st Dark Templar didn't really accomplish much at the 3rd base of Jaedong. So this is looking pretty good for Jaedong right now. Now the thing is it's kind of a little bit counterbalanced by the fact that he had his build get slowed down by that early harassment with the probe. Losing that first drone was a pretty big deal. So he's playing a little bit from behind, but I think he's more than caught up for however much he would have been behind before, because he's killed a couple DTs now. There's been a lot of money invested in tech for DTs, for Templar tech, and for these Corsairs. And, you know, he's killed a Corsair with Scourge. He's killed a couple DTs with the Overlords that have been slowly creeping across the map. Almost as if Jaedong is so freaking good that he knew where he was going to need these Overlords, you know, 6 minutes in, 7 minutes in, and he routed those first couple Overlords that he built to those locations in advance. Of course, I think he did just build an Overlord at his 3rd base, but that's beside the point. But just goes to show you what high-level play, you know, people play at StarCraft 1 and have played for a long time. So, but in any case, yeah, we're seeing that Trap still wants to maintain this approach with the air. He wants to maintain control of the air, even though he knows there's Spire Tech. He's kind of seen that Jaedong is going for more econ and defense and static defense rather than trying to go for some sort of muta attack. And here comes the Zealots coming in. There's a lot of Scourge overhead. He really wants to make sure he's protecting against Dark Templar, so he's got a Spore Colony as well. These Zealots are doing a ton of damage though, but there's 2 Sunken Colonies behind a solid wall, so they're not going to be able to break this once the ground units are killed. I think he just takes those Zergling kills, notches on his belt a few times, and then is going to exit alive with those Zealots to make sure he can maintain control of the ground and the air. And he does kind of have map control right now. He's got enough Corsairs that he's in good shape. It's questionable if he could actually take out those Corsairs with the Scourge. In fact, I don't know what happened with them. But the Zealots are running in here to the second now. Okay, there's the Scourge still, so the Corsairs are still around somewhere. But again, this is what you have to do in the PvZ. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think he has 8 Corsairs. Now, if they're on move command, they're going to die. If they're on attack, might live. And he is on attack move. He is on attack move. He only loses 1 Corsair. Only loses 1 Corsair and kills a dozen Scourge, I think. Maybe 8 or 10. But, excuse me. But that is actually huge, because now, if there's an engagement, those Corsairs can just drive away Overlords. There's no Scourge to deal with them. He can remake the Scourge, but it would be very expensive. I think he needs to go with Hydralisk to deal with these Corsairs now. He's wasted a lot of money. Well, I shouldn't say wasted, but he ended up using up a lot of money on those Scourge for not a lot of accomplishment. And so, right now, Trap is in really good shape. He now has control of the air. 100% control of the air. It's almost impossible. It would be like a complete all-in for Jaedong to just spend all of his money on Mutalisk and Scourge to try and take control of the air. I don't think it would be worth it at this point, even if he did succeed there. So Trap has air control. He's got +1 upgraded Corsairs, and a lot of them. It looks like 9 of them now at this point. And he's got the Zealot army that is hard to contest on the ground. Now, at this point, this is where Jaedong says, okay, I've got my economy going. I've got 3 Sunks and SimCity walls at all my bases. I've got my 4th. I'm going to have 4 gases in a second. Now, it's time for me to turn the tables. And he is grabbing onto the edge of that Lazy Susan and starting to give it a whirl right now, because he is going to be able to start producing tons of units. Jaedong is going to be able to just start outputting Hydras and Lings and whatever the tech that he wants. In fact, he can get a lot of high tech, but he is going to have that 4th gas. His hive is, I believe, about halfway done, or maybe even completed at this point, because we saw the Queen's Nest earlier. So he's going to be able to start putting out really high level units. It's going to be interesting to see if he just goes with, okay, the Lurkers indicate to me that he's probably going to get Defiler. Okay, there's the hive. So what are we going to see now that he has the hive? A DT has snuck into the 4th, by the way, by way of shuttle, so I shouldn't say snuck too much. But the DT has gotten all the way into the 4th base, and it's going to kill a half dozen drones. 7 drones there. A little bit of a vulnerable position. Jaedong was not counting on that. He wasn't completely defending that spot against Dark Templars, because he figured the Dark Templars would try and walk in the front. Wasn't counting on the shuttle. And look at this. There's a Spore Colony there. He actually sent in the Corsairs to kill off any Overlords so that the DT could do as much work as possible. But the Spore Colony, of course, is the answer to that. You need 1 Spore and 1 Sunk in each base, and then you can not worry too much about Dark Templars. And here comes an attack, though. This is the time where Jaedong is gearing up his ground army, and Trap is going in for the kill while he has the advantage. A lot of Zealots, a lot of Dragoons as well. The Storms in the back could be the deciding factor. If he can kill the ground army of Jaedong, it will not be able to contest this push, but it looks like the Storms are a little bit late, and he actually storms his own Corsairs as well. The Corsairs do a lot of damage to the Overlords, so Jaedong is probably supply blocked right now. Can he actually make reinforcements? Yes, he can. He actually can see the supply on the bottom right of the map. Jaedong is not supply blocked, so he can resupply. At this point, he had enough extra Overlords that losing those few, and in the meantime, losing those Corsairs was actually kind of a big deal. He just kind of threw them in there. He did kill some Overlords, but it wasn't really worth it, because now Trap has lost that air control, and we could see theoretically a switch into mutas at some point. I don't think Jaedong's going to do that right now. You can see he does have a solid amount of gas in the bank. He's on the left side of the bottom right ticker that you can see, which I hope I'm not covering up actually with, I just have to go back to my overlay here. No, yeah. Yeah, so you can see that Jaedong has a lot of gas, but he doesn't have any minerals. So, if he had a bunch of minerals in the bank, we could see him do a muta switch right now. But he's actually making a lot of Zerglings to try and push this back. This is a desperate, dire defense by Jaedong. There's a lurker on the high ground, so that's a good spot there, but there is an observer. No, the Spore Colony doesn't kill the observer, and storms go down on all the drones and the units there, but can Jaedong resupply? He still has 3 mining bases that are producing a lot of stuff, and this is the 3rd base, by the way. We saw Trap poke into the 2nd, do some damage, and now poke into the 3rd, but he's pushing through. He's killing off the sunken colonies. There's only a few sunken colonies left. There's no units left. He has stormed the lurkers on the high ground as well. The Dragoons are pushing in. They pick off. There's 2 left. I'm sorry, there is another one there that I didn't see. There's 3 sunken colonies left. These zealots moving in might be enough to push through, though. Jaedong is just not able to send enough units into the breach to defend against this, and it looks like he is. He is broken. All of the sunkens are down. There are no more lurkers. He doesn't have any hive tech to save him right now. There's the Defiler Mound, but he didn't get Swarm in time to save him from all of the Dragoons, and it looks like Jaedong is going to lose his 3rd right here, and yeah, look at all of those little pits in the ground where there are dead Zerg buildings. They're all gone. And now, you know, Dessert is the 4th base. He's had dinner. He's eaten up all of the buildings on the low ground, and now he's going up to the high ground for the delicious 4th base, which, if he munches this base down, I don't think there's any way Jaedong can come back into this game, because he will just have so little of an economy that he will not be able to make any of those high-tech hive units. And, of course, Trap is getting a 3rd base as well. So if he can survive long enough, he'll be able to get that too. Now, Jaedong does catch Trap's reinforcements in the open. This is a good counterattack in order to try and deal with this situation. And he is able to catch a lot of units. He's able to bait out some storms as well. But the gas is just running out. Jaedong just doesn't have enough stuff. And, you know, the several zealots running in here are going to be more than enough. And a beautiful storm killing off those Zerglings on the Nexus to save it. Zealots sometimes are too slow. Even though they're effective, they're too slow at killing Zerglings to stop the demise of buildings. So it looks like Trap has a firm grip on this game. Jaedong still has a very solid defense at his 2nd base, but what can he do to get back into the game? Now, Trap doesn't have any mining yet at that 3rd base, so it is still kind of 2 bases versus 2 bases. Maybe if Jaedong can pull off some crazy play with a plague on a bunch of zealots or something along those lines, he could theoretically get back into this game, but it is looking dire for Jaedong right now. And, you know, again, oh, and there's a nice storm. Yeah, I mean, he was hoping to sneak some Zerglings in and finish off that Nexus just by brute force with the crack upgraded Zerglings with the Adrenal Glands. But nope, it's well defended. It's mining. It's getting cannons put up there. And I don't see much of a way for Jaedong to get back into this. So it's kind of cool to see. You know, this is the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Not the absolute beginning, but this is towards the beginning of the player who we now know as a titan of StarCraft 2, playing a just absolutely beautiful game. I can't think of many situations where he made mistakes in this game against Jaedong, the best Zerg in the land, and Trap able to go toe-to-toe with the Titan Jaedong in a PvZ game is just pretty impressive altogether. And, you know, it even goes all the way back to that first probe versus drone. That was maybe a little bit of a mistake that Jaedong made, letting that happen, letting his drone die in that situation instead of setting down a 2nd drone to help make a hatcher or something like that. But Jaedong did catch up a little bit, and the fact that Trap wasn't able to be successful with the Dark Templar harass early on showed that, you know, Jaedong was kind of able to make that up. So it's been a pretty even game this whole time, and Trap has just been one up on Jaedong with the timings, one up on Jaedong with the tactics, and has just been, oh, look at those Scourge, though. That was your one job, Scourge, was to sit there and kill shuttles, and there's the GG. There's the GG from Jaedong. Losing all those drones is something he could not afford, and Trap is going to go down and congratulate his teammates on STX Seoul, giving high fives to everyone, and that's going to even up the score in this series, by the way, in case you're curious about the series situation, where they're switching back and forth between StarCraft 1 and 2, but Jaedong, the Titan of Zerg, has been taken out by a young Trap, and Trap wins the game. And like I said, it's kind of cool to see, you know, these old days situations where these players that you know, later on they would become such you know, influential people, and then at this point in time it's just like Trap's a pretty good Pro League player. He gets wins for his team in the Pro League in StarCraft 1. And So, you know, and then fast forward 8 years and Trap is the champion and he's winning $10,000 by beating Stats in the finals of the GSL. So pretty cool stuff. And I mean, you know, of course, Jaedong, of course, going into the military as well later, just recently too. So it's just kind of, that's one of the reasons why I like going back and doing these old games, is just to see the progression of these players and think about where they came from and where they went. And, you know, imagine your Trap and you've been just playing StarCraft 1 professionally for a few years. And it's 2011 and you're just not doing very well. And, you know, in I think late 2011, early 2012, he just wasn't winning any games. And then suddenly he starts to win games in the Pro League. And you get some wins against players like Jaedong. And, you know, what if that kind of situation is what boosted him to be confident enough and keep pursuing his passion of StarCraft in order to, you know, go the distance and keep at it and play for several more years, you know? Because there was a time when he just wasn't being successful in StarCraft, and obviously he's very successful now. So anyway, GG, thanks for watching. I'm going to actually tell you guys something very interesting about this series too. I'm not going to say the result completely, in case you guys want to go watch it or something like that. But this was game 2, and it tied up the series. And if you're not familiar with the Pro League format, you know, you played games back and forth, and then if it went to a 2 versus 2 score, there would be an ace match. Each of the games before this was planned out. You knew who you were going to play. You prepared ahead of time. The ace match was played if you got to that tie game and it was not prepared. You sent out someone as a surprise, and so you didn't know who it was going to be or who they were going to prepare for, anything like that. And the ace match of this series was a StarCraft 2 game, and it was a rematch between Jaedong and Trap. So Trap just beat Jaedong, the master of Zerg, in a StarCraft 1 game, and Jaedong will get a chance to get his revenge in the ace match. And again, I won't tell you what happened in that, but it's kind of cool that they, on the same day, what a representation of this era of StarCraft 1 and 2 being combined, that on the same day you had you know, these players playing a StarCraft 1 match against each other and then a StarCraft 2 match against each other as well. And, you know, I actually thought about casting the StarCraft 2 match, that ace match, as kind of a follow-up to this because it's kind of appropriate, but I haven't casted StarCraft 2 in so long, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. Maybe I will, I guess. I'll think about it, but I'm trying to bring you guys more StarCraft 1 games in general, so... But very, very cool game. I'll put a link to the Korean cast of the StarCraft 2 match in case anyone's really curious to watch it or check the results of that. But GG, well done, and congrats to Trap, the winner of the GSL Super Tournament. Played a phenomenal game, and it was just a great series, those finals too. So yeah, that's going to do it for this time. Thanks very much for watching. GG, take care, and see you soon for another one.